Hi, welcome to Ask Cam, and we are talking today about digital inclusion. So thank you for if you're tuning in. I am joined by our lovely digital inclusion officers at Citizens Advice Manchester, Rosa and India. So thank you very much for joining me, folks. And as always, as we chat along today, we will be giving you the opportunity to ask any questions to Rosa and India that you might have. So if you do have any questions, please do feel free to put those in the comment box and we will ask them and hopefully get you the answers that you need. First and foremost, let's talk digital exclusion. So in terms of this, it's sort of a bit of a vague term. So I'm going to come to you first, India. Can you tell us a little bit about the overall picture of digital inclusion, kind of almost what it means and then what that looks like in Manchester?
Of course. So when we talk about digital exclusion, we mean people who aren't digitally engaged. So for example, if someone is unable to use the internet in different ways, or if someone just simply doesn't have access to an internet or smartphone, or any technical devices really that I would say would class as digital. And the current picture in Manchester is that there's around 27,000 people who are unable to be digital, whether that's they don't have the confidence or the skills to go online, or they simply don't have access. That is an estimate, but we do suspect that number is significantly higher.
Okay, that's quite a lot of people. So that obviously, as you say, it's really important that we're sort of addressing the issue. Just before we sort of go forward with those questions, I'm just saying that we've got a couple of questions come in from Val, who has asked about ESA assessment forms and PIP assessment results. Val, what I'm going to say to you is, unfortunately, these Rosa and India are digital inclusion officers rather than benefits experts. But I am just going to pop up a little banner along the bottom of our screen here, which has our contact details. And those are the sorts of things that our benefits team can help with. So please do get in touch with us if you do need to get help with form filling and with any of those benefit processes. Our teams will be happy to help you. So moving forward, no problem, Val, thank you. Moving forward, we've talked about sort of like what makes somebody digitally excluded in terms of what it means on paper, but why might somebody be digitally excluded?
Well, it can be an array of things. Like, for example, if someone left school before the age of 16, that could be a reason why they're digitally excluded. It also could just simply be confidence. So the example I always use when we're out and about is my dad. It took my dad probably about a year to use online banking simply because he didn't trust it and he didn't understand it. And I kind of had to use myself as an example, saying the benefits of online banking. It's more convenient. You don't get stuck in the rain. You don't have to go to a cash machine and check your balance and stuff like that. So a lot of the times it's just confidence, skills, or the motivation. Why do we need to go online when online is a fairly new thing? A lot of people have been doing bank transfers, going into the bank physically. So it's a new model really in terms of digital.
Yeah, absolutely. And as you say, it's just this sort of new world to people who sometimes maybe don't necessarily recognise the amount of things there are for them to do online. And I guess like different sort of services that are available to them. Is that right?
Yeah, definitely.
Right. Yeah. Sorry, Rosie, you were going to say?
No, I was just going to say, I think especially with the problem with also digital is that what does digital even mean? And it's going to mean something different for all of us, whilst for someone that has never used any digital services, just Googling something, it's an amazing accomplishment, and that should be celebrated as the accomplishment it is. Well, for other people, it might be, oh, actually, I'm now renovating my car license over the internet, and I don't have to go anywhere to do it. And that's also to be seen as an accomplishment. So I think it's just about understanding what would bring you online and what does being digitally engaged mean to you. But yeah, it's the little things really, and it's about like knowing that we'll never know everything, but there's always something to learn and enjoy in that learning process.
Absolutely. So We've talked about, so we've used the word digital quite a lot, and something that people might have heard as a phrase, particularly sort of in the last few years, is the phrase digital by default. And that gets sort of thrown about quite a lot, but I think not necessarily everybody understands what it means. Rosa, can you tell me a little bit more about what digital by default means and what does it mean for our communities in Manchester?
Sure. So, yeah, the idea is that digital by default meant that people could access services that they need by using the internet. And in one way, that saves us a lot of time and it's much more efficient. And I think especially as we kind of saw the impact of COVID-19, most services had to become digital by default much faster than maybe they thought they would have to. And that came with a lot of issues associated with it. I think, first of all, is that people were not familiar on how to do it. And like India just said, if these people were digitally excluded, how would they be able to now use the services? But I think whilst it has a lot of benefits, it also has some difficulties around, for example, if you have a disability and you need to kind of use assistive technologies, these come associated with a cost. A lot of websites might not really have the best format to have assisted digital as well. And I think simultaneously is if these organizations don't really have the finances to go completely digital, assisted digital is not going to support them and people are not going to be aware of these services. Yeah. So I think what we say is like, whilst digital is here to stay and everyone should be supported to get online, there's always have to be an alternative route if people are not able to use services that are digital by default. So whilst the past year has forced us to innovate more than ever, we now need to start thinking of what our service is going to look like. Is there different ways of contacting them? And if digital is the only way, is that really fair? Especially if we consider that, well, broadband is not free at the moment. So if you're going to say that the service, for example, like applying for universal credit, a digital by default service, how are people supposed to do that if you're not providing them with free and reliable broadband?
Yeah, I think it's a really good point. And like, as you say, with sort of a lot of systems now and government systems and benefit applications going online, as you say, the idea that there's an added cost when these people are on low incomes, we do recognise that obviously it's such a massive barrier. And also, like you say, in terms of the format, not everybody has a computer at home. Not everybody has and if you're trying to do something on your mobile, like trying to fill forms in on your mobile is an absolute nightmare. So I think it's really important. Like, and that's obviously just in the sort of the tip of the iceberg, I guess, in terms of issues that people face when it comes to using digital services. So, as you say, sort of in terms of affordable broadband, Rosa, what sort of is happening in that arena? Like, what do we sort of feel like, I guess, as Citizens Advice, what is it that we would like to see happen in terms of a broadband situation?
I think we just want to see a widely available, free and reliable, affordable and reliable broadband. It was great if it was free, but as we know, that's not the reality of how services work, but at least affordable and reliable broadband. I think what we're seeing is that there's a lot of locations that don't have good connectivity services or access to them. And it's not one of people's concerns when we know, like, we have we're calling it the current energy crisis and everything is going on. Inflation is going up. How can people keep up? That should be that's really not if you're struggling to make meets end really every week, I don't think broadband is one of your first concerns, but that just means that people are getting more and more excluded every day. And that's the problem with digital exclusion, is that we know it's just another way of being socially excluded. And if the people that benefit from really engaging with the internet, the people that have the most to gain, are unfortunately the ones that are having the least access to it.
Yeah. As you say, like, it's a really vicious cycle, isn't it? That you can't afford broadband, so then like actually some of those things that become like closed off to you, and then how do you access the support? And I know that there is a new bit of support coming in for from the job centre, essentially for new job seekers. If you're on universal credit, that you can access sort of free broadband for a certain, like, a 6-month period, and that then, like, in order to help you to like search for work, I guess again that is a great step, and it's a really positive move. I think is probably the first point, but also you do need the device to go with it. It's all very well and good having free broadband if you haven't got a laptop or a smartphone, and it's a presumption that everybody has a smartphone, I guess, now. Like, I think I've probably been guilty of that in the past, thinking, oh yeah, everyone's got one, but I guess not everybody does have access to those technologies in their own homes, do they?
Not at all. And I think you've got to think about as well, like, how delicate smartphones can be. I think it's great that we're all talking about digital and stuff like that, but in reality, a Nokia compared to, like, for example, a smartphone, are way more robust. So, for example, for someone like myself, you're constantly like dropping things and stuff like that. Having a smartphone is not the top of your agenda because it doesn't suit your needs. Having a working phone that has a battery that lasts, years or months is more ideal for you. So I think as we start to become more digital by default, we need to be thinking of these things. But in terms of like the benefits, wouldn't it be amazing if there's a map for every borough in Manchester that could show you where you can access free Wi-Fi?
Yeah.
Because I think a lot of us forget, where can we go? Often we think about, certain fast food chains where if you go in, you buy a drink or whatever, you can get access to the Wi-Fi. But wouldn't it be great if we had like digital hubs across the city? So somewhere you can go in, use the Wi-Fi and just kind of sit and relax, but also include the social element of being digital as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And I guess, again, that sort of talking about like the impact of the pandemic is that for a lot of people, a library would have been their first sort of port of call for using the internet potentially. And obviously our libraries have been closed for a certain period of time. They are now sort of starting to reopen, but even, I guess, in the way that people access libraries now, everything has kind of changed, hasn't it? How are we sort of seeing that's people are still sort of struggling to access the internet?
Yeah, I think there's different reasons. Like, we know that whilst libraries are open, like, life is just returning to normal, and people are still kind of figuring out what that is, and they're still kind of going back to what it was before, that the places that they would go into and come into the libraries, kind of, it's scary a bit. I don't know. I think we've all felt that, like, I don't know, feeling a bit scared about going back to our normally, and libraries are open, but it might be that you haven't felt brave enough to actually go in, or you're not sure if they're safe. So I think we can reassure you that these places are safe, and library staff and Manchester City Council are doing everything that they can to keep these places safe for you to be able to use them. I know the libraries are also going to start piloting an out-of-hours scheme where you can go and use the laptops, even if you work during their normally open hours. So definitely stay not watch this space, but watch Manchester City Council for news on how to access that.
Yeah, I think that's and as Val's just put in the comments, that her granddaughter's actually been offered a laptop by DWP because she's been offered a job that's working from home, but that you need a laptop in order to do that. And so their support worker at DWP has said that they can arrange that for her. And I think it's so important for schemes like that to be opened up for people, because it makes way more jobs accessible. It makes so many other services accessible in order to help people, go about their daily lives a lot more effectively, I think. And it's a fantastic scheme. So thank you for sharing that, Val. And I do think, it's sort of finding more of those things around the city. And as you say, Rosie, they are starting to pop up in places. There is support out there, but I think sometimes it's knowing about those things, and how do we communicate to people about all the different kind of ways that they could access something, and then almost why they'd want to. Because I guess, again, if you already think digital's not for me, I don't need to be online, then you don't think you need a laptop that you are able to access for free or really low cost. So I think India, you mentioned before, particularly when it comes to online banking, but I think there are a lot of other sort of concerns about sort of safety online. How can people stay safe, and then what are sort of some of the benefits of being online once you've figured out how to be safe in that space, I guess?
I think some of the easy ones are kind of just make sure that you're on a recognizable website. So often a really good way to check is if you can see, like, it's a bit like a padlock at the top of a website, and if that's green, that shows you that that is an accredited website, because often, especially around Christmas time, there's like loads of duplicates of websites, and to check someone's security of that website, you can look for that padlock sign. But also as well, like, challenge certain things. So for example, most organizations, the label or their logo will be really clear and visual. If you go on a website and the image looks a bit blurry, then generally log off. Also as well, challenge the website. So if you see a website and there's quite a few spelling mistakes, of course, human error, some stuff like that does happen, but if you're seeing like recurrent spelling mistakes, then it's probably not a very trustworthy website. And also stick to websites that you know that are factual. For example, for health information, go to your GP website or even NHS. And the NHS website, a lot of the imagery and the text is all the same. It's all the same tone. One of the examples was on a website the other day, and the text would change from like first person to like third person, and that's kind of a bit like, it's probably not the best website. But just kind of go for like brands that you recognize, like the NHS, you can recognize that logo, and spaces like that. So once you do get online, there's so many other benefits. So as we've mentioned, like online banking is a really good one. One, it's very easy and convenient, but also as well, it shows that you can manage direct debits. It can help manage direct debits. So I know as lots of banks are becoming more digital themselves, they kind of have like, you can check when direct debits are due to go out. And also, no, not now, but in some months to come, you can check as well, like compare different pricing for bills and stuff like that. So in the long run, you will start to save money. And one of my favourite elements of being digital is the social aspect. So one good thing that you can do is you can look for local support groups in your area, or you can join like places like Facebook or other social platforms where you can find people who have similar health conditions to you, and you can actually form a bit of a bond. So it's without leaving the comfort of your own home often. So when I think about the benefits of being digital, I think of connectivity in loads of different ways. Even that means like, your auntie from across the pond sending you a lovely good morning message, or whether it's just a case of, you're able to be more included with your bills, or that social aspect as well.
Yeah, I think you said, like, I think particularly as you say, that again, coming back to the pandemic, it's always we've ever talked about for the last 18 months. But I do think, as you say, so many people have kind of started to recognise that need to be connected to people in a different way, and that we've all like spent a lot more time online, or those of us who are digitally included, I guess, have spent a lot more time online and using that to sort of keep in touch with friends and family and see people's faces, because otherwise you wouldn't see them like for years on end. So I think it is there's a lot of really great stuff that comes with the internet, and as you say, India, from a practical point of view, that sort of money saving aspect, being able to use online comparison sites for, obviously, as you say, energy is not such a great place to be doing online comparisons at the moment, as we covered in our last live stream. And if you've missed that, please go catch up. But also, there are loads of other services that you might need comparisons for. So it might be about car insurance or home insurance, or any of these other kind of services that you can get as a good across the board comparison. And even for just buying like items online, I always love sort of, if I see something in a shop, and I'll give a quick Google and see if I can actually buy it somewhere else cheaper, because like, why would I buy it for twice the price just for the sake of being in a shop? I think it can be really handy to have a quick sort of reference point for those, like, you might save £1 or so. Doesn't feel like a huge amount of money, but obviously that all really adds up, particularly for people who maybe are a little bit more financially vulnerable, and could benefit from making those savings. So in terms of then, if people do want to get support and they're sort of starting to think, okay, I'm intrigued. And I should point out as well, I think what I meant to address at the start and forgot was that obviously we're talking about digital inclusion, and I'm very conscious that we're online and we're having this conversation in a very digital space. But obviously what I think it's really important to point out that just because somebody can maybe be online and be on Facebook, that doesn't necessarily make them digitally included. Is that, like, how would you sort of describe that, I guess? I'm going to throw it to either of you. Can feel free to answer that.
I think it's just like sometimes we are in online spaces, like you say, or we use the WhatsApp, or we've used Zoom to have, like, a great quiz over lockdown. And I think it's understanding that there's so much that we can do online. That, like I said before, there's always something else to learn. And I think more important to share it with other people. Like if we're sometimes having a conversation with someone and they say, oh, no, I don't like the internet, I'm never going to use the internet. I think we can also challenge that. So what don't you like about the internet? And, oh, did you know that you could do this? Like for me, being able to use this digital world helps me to make sense of the world a bit better, because sometimes, for example, I really struggle to learning stuff from like just reading, like in a website. But if I watch a YouTube video, it's much better for me to be able to actually pick up, or like, I don't know, like recipes. Like I hate reading recipe blogs, but as soon as I watch a YouTube video, I'm like, right, I can totally nail that recipe, or I can go and I all the stuff just registering in my GP. And so I think to get support online, it's about first understand what would you like to learn and see what is the most appropriate place. So for example, I know that Manchester Adult Education Service, they're doing several beginner courses and intermediate courses. They also have kind of drop-in sessions. If you don't really want to commit for a whole course, you can just drop in one of their locations and just get support with whatever it is that you might be stuck with. Or there's also several online centers that if you search Good Things Foundation, you're also able to find your nearest online center. Or just go to your local library or community center and ask them how they can support you, because most places nowadays have some sort of support. And even if they don't have it in your local community center, I'm sure one of the lovely people that work there are just able to kind of refer you to their nearest place, the nearest place that they know about.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's, like you say, there's a lot of support out there, but it's sometimes knowing how to access it. And I've just put that's the Manchester Adult Education Service website. And then also, as Rosa referenced there, you can also search for the Good Things Foundation online centres as well. And I think, again, that's again only the tip of the iceberg in terms of the support that is out there, but obviously it's just a good place to start. And I think it's a really good point you made there, Rosa, is that obviously some of the people who are tuning in today might sort of say, actually, I love digital. I think it's great. And I use it for various things. Therefore, like, why not go and like almost be a champion for that, like with people in your community or your friends and your family who maybe are a little bit more hesitant and don't really kind of want to be in online spaces, and helping them to kind of find those places that might be able to offer them better support in order to do that. So I guess then, like, in terms of the support that we offer, so that's sort of where we haven't got to. Into, like, you guys are our digital inclusion officers. What is sort of our digital inclusion offer at the moment? And then I guess we'll come on to where's it going to.
Our current offer at the moment is obviously we're signposting to places like Manchester Adult Education, but also as well as we're looking for digital hubs across Manchester. So essentially a digital hub from our end is somewhere where you can go in and access, I guess, an appointment. So this would be on a designated day. So for example, say there's a library down the road, that we would be in that library on a Tuesday offering video advice. So it'd be kind of similar to this, but obviously in a more private location where you can speak to one of our specialist advisors about an array of topics. And the beauty of this new offer is that it's more in a comfortable space for the community. Instead of people, you can still obviously use our phone lines and stuff like that, but it's really important that we have like a bit of a community presence. So if we know there's a local library where a lot of people kind of go down on Wednesday, we want to work with the community and then say, actually, would it be useful for you to have a video advice appointment drop-in session where every Wednesday, say 12 till 2, people from the community group can drop in and have a chat with us about anything and anything we can help them with. So that's our current offer.
Yeah, and I think, like you say, we're sort of, so we've got it at the moment. We're potentially expanding it. So we're in, obviously, people who have kind of been following Citizens Advice Manchester for a while may remember that pre-pandemic we had a number of community hubs across the city, and 3 of those are now reopen. So we've got one in North Manchester at the Avenue Library, one in Central Manchester at Longsight Library, and one at Wythenshawe Forum Library. And I haven't got the details of days and times to hand, but they are across our social media. So do sort of take a look if you're interested in kind of finding a digital hub. But as you say, India, we're kind of we've taken this sort of opportunity to reset and have a new think about our community hub offer. And sort of, are we then sort of looking to expand the community hub model and like spread it into new spaces?
Of course, and I think most importantly, we use the word community hub quite loosely because we know from our own experiences a community hub doesn't have to be a library. It could be, for example, a barbershop. It could be absolutely anywhere where community members kind of go in and access, we'll have a conversation. And our end of the bargain is that we could provide all the equipment. We just would like for preferably a private space. And then we could provide either like a tablet or a screen with a headset. And if you have internet, that's perfect. If not, then we can find ways around that. But in order for this to be as successful as possible, is that we really want to know where our communities go. Libraries are great spaces, but often people kind of go, usually during half term or as and when. But if you, for example, even if you know there's like a mother and baby group in a local church, then please just let us know by either commenting below or even just like, I guess, just emailing us.
Yeah, absolutely, quite right. I think so. It's like you say, it's we know that people who maybe are digitally excluded might not be using their library for whatever reason. Like, libraries are great spaces, but how do we get to people to encourage them? And again, once we've sort of opened up the world of digital and the world of that sort of stuff to them, they might then go and use their library for other things because actually they've realized that there's stuff out there they want to be able to access. But it's just about, sometimes we need to get to people rather than like expecting them to come to us in the spaces that we decide that they should come to. And I think it's really exciting, the work that you and Rosa are doing and kind of getting out into these community spaces. I've just seen comments coming from ACTA about sort of about how Ethnic Health Forum also provide welfare advice, and you're quite right there. We are not the only source of welfare benefits advice across the city, and there's a lot of good advice agencies operating. And in terms of people who can't speak English, we do have access to telephone interpreters. So if people do contact us, yes, we would be able to help people to access our services who aren't able, who don't have English as a first language. We recognise that it's really important, that especially within Manchester, where we have so many community languages spoken, that we try and improve access to our services for as many people as possible. So I guess that kind of brings us on to sort of talking about how people can contact us, guys. I mean, obviously, I'll put up I've got various banners at my disposal. This is sort of, I guess, the main channel that is our phone line and our website. But our phone line, I guess, is particularly the one for people who may be digitally excluded. That would be the first choice that they might give us a call. But if people are online, like, what sort of, again, it's opening up access to services. If you're online, how many different ways can people contact us if they're online?
There's several ways. Like you said, I think it's first is understanding what is the best channel for you. What do you need? What are you contacting us about? Because so like you said, like if people don't have English as a first language and they would like to speak with us in another community language, yeah, the phone is the best option. Call us, you'll be able to get support that way. You can also contact us via WhatsApp or even Messenger, or we have a little chat box in our website. But you have to think, well, is this really concerning me right now? And do I want to speak with a person on a phone or even on video advice or even attend a community hub because I need to speak to someone about this problem? Then maybe WhatsApp or chat is not the best option for you, because I don't know, it would really stress me out if I had a problem and I was like just waiting for someone to reply. But like we said, you can also book a video advice from the comfort of your home, because sometimes, yeah, it's great to speak with someone on the phone, but if you can actually see the person, it makes all the difference about how we interact. I think we kind of all learned that when we were first to do online meetings, and you know how uncomfortable it can be when someone had their camera off and we're like, oh, what are you thinking? Or can I see you? So yeah, like I said, you can contact us over WhatsApp, Messenger, over the phone, attend one of our community hubs at Avenue, Longside, or Widenshaw, book a video appointment, or call our free phone line. We also have an after-hour service because we understand that, you know, problems are not really time-bound, and if we work all day, we might not be able to call this phone line, but we also have an after-hours service that you can contact.
Yeah. Absolutely. That is one that I don't have to hand, but we will make sure that some of our, I think, you know, again, those sorts of numbers pop up regularly across our social media. And also, again, if you visit our website, the out of hours number is definitely up there. And I think what's some of the stuff that happens in our community hubs as well, I think in terms of helping you to find the answers for yourself. We know that sometimes it's great to call an advisor and for someone to help you, and that's obviously for some people that's exactly what they need, and we're more than happy to provide that. But if you, for example, want to find an answer for yourself, you can come along to one of our community hubs and they can talk you through some of our advice pages. So we've got a lot of information about how to resolve your problems online. And again, we know that sometimes it's just a case of knowing how to access that site, where to look for the information, because there's so much information on there. So it's like, again, some of our team can help you to navigate through that process. So again, it's about, I think, what we've recognized really as a service, isn't it, that, you know, people have various different needs, and we need to have a range of services that offer people like ways to contact us and get support in a way that suits them. And we're trying to kind of get out there as much as possible. And speaking of getting out there as much as possible, I know that you guys have been out in the community quite a lot in the sort of the last few weeks. How are you finding that, like, in terms of going out and speaking to people? I'm sure it's always really nice to actually get out to real people again, because it's been a long time. What do people sort of tend to tell you about getting online? What do they sort of feel are the things that stop them from using services?
I think sometimes it's just not being aware, and like just first of all, like it can be really, really scary when you're not very digitally confident and you go in a website and there's so much happening in that website that you don't really figure out what you have to do and next steps. So I think first it's really important that people are aware about how a lot of websites now have accessibility tools. There normally will be a place in the website that you can click that allows you to not only make the letters bigger, so kind of zoom in, translate it, alter the colors of the website to allow you to kind of read it better, or even just the website will read out loud if you struggle with like kind of reading from a computer. But also I think it's just making people are just confused after everything that's happened and all the changes, and this is just another layer to add to their confusions, like what is happening, how can I access support, who should I speak to, I want to speak with a person, and they're telling you, well, no, actually you have to go in this website. It's not really the answer that people want to hear.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, and I was going to say as well, on top of that, I think a lot of people will often have friends or family who might just do the internet for them. That's something we really hear like quite often, is that, oh well, I don't need it, that my daughter or my friend will pop round and help me with stuff like that. So I think my one piece of advice for people who are supporting someone with their internet: don't just do it for them, do it with them. So Learn My Way has a great tool because it has different types of learners. So you can learn a new skill yourself, or you can help support someone use the internet, or you could go in from like a parent's perspective. So you could learn about how to keep yourself and your children safe online, and just really just try to, whilst being someone's support system, also be a trainer as well, so that you're helping reskill them as well.
Yeah, I think that's, as you say, like people are often, it's like, oh, that's fine, someone else can sort that out for me, and I think it's great. But as you say, it's really great for people to learn those skills for themselves. Like, if at any point they want to Google something and find something out, they don't have to wait till somebody comes around to help them. It's about how can we support them. So I guess again, what we should have said, and we did say in the blurb as sort of promoting this live stream, that this week is Get Online Week, isn't it? And so, as sort of like, if you were going to encourage people to get online this week, what sort of things would you say? Like, what's your sort of top tip for getting online? I guess I've thrown you a little bit because I didn't think about that question. So, but what's your top tip for getting online?
For me, it's just being able to ask for help. Like for example, there's so many organizations that are able to support you. So if you're, for example, struggling with access to your GP can probably help you get online. It's just a question of you giving it a call and asking. So for me, it's just not being afraid to ask for help and not saying, I don't know how to do this. Would you be able to show me how I do it? Because there's a lot of things I don't know how to do online, and sometimes I just need to ask someone else. And some people, I'm a digital inclusion officer, I should be able to do this. Like, no, that's fine. I'm learning as well.
Yeah, I think that's right. And the internet is pretty massive. So unsurprisingly, like, we haven't all figured out all aspects of it yet. And as you say, sometimes it's just about saying, do you know what, I thought I knew how to do this, or I thought I would be able to do this, but actually I just can't figure it out. Can you give me a hand? As you say, it can be really difficult to say that. Sometimes it can feel really difficult to reach out, but it's a really great place to start, because if you try and figure it out all by yourself, it can feel really overwhelming and really off-putting, I guess. So that's Rose's top tip. India, what's yours?
Mine would be just give it a go. I think if there's something you've been putting off for a very long time, just give it a go. Go to a search engine and just type it in. For example, if you want to know how to make that pasta dish everyone's been making, then just type in pasta dish and just see what comes up, and just give it a go, and just I guess throw yourself in the deep end, because it's the best thing you can do, and it's fun along the way. You'll probably come across quite a few YouTube videos that might make you giggle, or you might even find a recipe that you remember from like your childhood. So yeah, just give it a go.
Yeah, there's a wealth of stuff, isn't there, online? I know that like YouTube is an absolutely fantastic source of support. We've got a new puppy in this household, and there are a lot of puppy training videos that get watched on YouTube. But also practically, we have some energy saving videos online as well that we've put up through our one of the projects that we're involved in, called STEP, which is Solutions to Tackling Energy Poverty, and they can show you how you can sort of keep costs down for energy in the kitchen, or they can show you how you can make draft excluders for any of your doors or for your chimney, if that's letting in cold air, so that essentially keeps your house warmer for basically very little money or no money. And so I think as well, we'll put some links up to those on our social media in the next day or so that people know where to access them. But as you say, there's so much information and in really accessible formats. I think you sort of mentioned before, Rosie, like it's that thing of if you see it written down, it's really hard to digest, but actually that if you watch a video, it's much easier. And I think for everybody, we're doing much better at recognizing that people learn in different ways now, and that some people maybe are visual learners and some people are more like actually just quite happy with information, like reading that off a page, and then some people almost need to actively go through step by step on processes. And again, I think that's sometimes getting online can be really helpful for some of those things, because it's like actually like, yeah, it can walk you through a process, so you can go, right, I can actually like physically follow along, and I can like almost learn by doing. So I think it's great to sort of recognize the amount of stuff that is out there to help people to learn. We said before that we'd like to hear from you and your communities in terms of what it is that, like, where should we be? Where should our digital inclusion officers be? Where should we be helping people to access the internet? Where should we be putting our services in the community? So if you are tuning in now, please comment below. If you're watching this on catch up, we will still catch your comments. So please keep those comments coming, and let us know where you'd like to see us. Rosa, India, is there anything else that you'd like to say before we wrap up? Or have we covered everything? Are we completely digitally included now?
I think we have a better understanding of what digital inclusion is. I think it would be quite nice to know how like the audience interprets digital and what it means to them. And if you have any top tips for us on ways we can better reach the community, Rosa and I, we absolutely love being out and about. So if there's any community events you'd like to tell us about, then just write a comment.
Wonderful, thanks. Anything else from you, Rosa?
No. Just thank you for watching.
That's great. That's all. Like, I think, we've covered quite a lot in the last 40 minutes or so. So as Rosa said, thank you very much for tuning in. As always, please do leave your comments, not only about where we should be in the community, but if you've got anything that you particularly like us to see covering in these live streams. We tend to sort of broadcast every couple of weeks or so. So do let us know in the comments what you'd like to see in the future. And have a lovely rest of your Monday, and make sure that you get online get online week, and we'll see you soon. Good night.